Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be making smoked meatballs from scratch out here on the Bradley vertical smoker. They're going to be really nice and juicy on the interior with a nice smoke flavor profile, so stick with us if you're into that kind of thing. So the first step is just to get some breadcrumbs ready. Now these breadcrumbs help to keep this really nice and moist. So we've got panko here. You can use traditional breadcrumbs as well. We'll get 1 cup in here. And then we're gonna add in 1/3 cup of milk. So we'll come in 1/3 cup of milk. Now the reason you wanna do this at the start is you wanna give the milk a chance to actually absorb into the breadcrumbs. So we'll set that off to the side, and then we'll make our meat mixture. So for the meat mixture, half of this is gonna be ground beef, and we're using 80/20 ground chuck, and then the other is ground pork. Now the pork's gonna bring a little bit more flavor to the cook and just mix things up a little bit. So we've got 1 pound of ground beef and 1 pound of ground pork in here. Next thing we're gonna add are 2 eggs. Now, if you want to scale up this recipe and do more, this recipe is one that freezes really well. So you'll see how much 2 pounds of ground meat actually makes here. And again, you can just course correct and adjust if you want to make more and freeze it. Now we'll go in with 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. Now we'll go in with 1 teaspoon of sea salt, and we're going in with some smoked Maldon sea salt. Because this is beautiful crystals like this, we're just gonna scrunch it between our hands. We'll go in with 1 teaspoon of chili flakes. Just a little bit of heat, and again, this is one we'll scrunch between our hands. And we'll go in with 1 teaspoon of coarsely ground black pepper. Now we'll go in with 1.5 cups of freshly grated Parmesan Reggiano. We're gonna freshly grate ours. Of course, you can buy this pre-grated, save yourself some time. Now we'll get half an onion diced up nicely. Now for the onion, we want to dice this up as finely as we possibly can. So just come in here with really thin slices going vertically. Then we'll do our horizontal slices. Now we'll just carve this up. Get that in here. Now we'll get some garlic. Now we really like garlic, so we're going in with 4 cloves here. Give this a little tap with your chef's knife. Take the peel off easier that way. Now again, we love garlic, so 4 cloves is great for us. But the beauty about this recipe is you can add different aromatics, you can add and change the amounts here depending on what you and your family really like. Now lastly, we've got some freshly dried oregano. Scrunch that up. Now this is really powerful stuff, so I'd only recommend using about 1 teaspoon. Now we've got our breadcrumbs back up here, and you can see the milk's fully absorbed into these guys. So we'll get that down into here, add it into the mix. Now we're ready to start forming our meatballs. So now we're just gonna mix this up. And the breadcrumbs, it's gonna help absorb some of the fat that gets released out of the beef chuck and the ground pork. And they'll, again, maintain a really nice and juicy meatball. The last thing we want are dried out meatballs here, so the breadcrumbs actually help with that. Now you don't want to overwork your meat here. You just want it to come together and be evenly combined. Then you'll take enough meat to make a meatball that's a little bit bigger than, say, a golf ball, a little bit smaller than a tennis ball. Now you of course can make these whatever size you want. This is just what works for us and our family. And you'll see at the end, we'll end up putting these into some marinara sauce, and you want to be able to cover all of your meatballs in that marinara sauce. So good. And I wish you could really smell this. You can smell all the garlic, you can smell the dried oregano. It's actually, really making me hungry for lunch here. And you want to keep your meatballs roughly the same size just so that they cook evenly. And you'll see here, we probably could have diced our onions maybe a little bit more finely, but again, that's no problem. These will soften up in the smoker. It's gonna be great. Yeah, the oregano makes it smell really, really good. Now with the meatballs made up, we'll get these into the smoker. Today we're going to be using the Bradley vertical smoker, and this is their P10 professional grade version. We're just going to set it to its highest temp of 320 Fahrenheit, and then this machine is just going to maintain that temp over the course of the entire cook. It'll feed these applewood biscuits into the smoker to generate the smoke, and then the built-in water pan will just make sure that the cook chamber maintains a high level of humidity and that the meatballs stay nice and juicy. So with the smoker set up, take your meatballs off at 120. You want to put those in a cast iron skillet and then add in your favorite tomato sauce and chunks of Parmesan cheese. Now get this back in the smoker until the balls hit an internal temp of 160 Fahrenheit, and then you're done. For us, given the size of our balls, this took about an hour and 20 minutes total. So now just shave on a little bit of fresh Parmesan cheese, sprinkle on some fresh parsley, and it's time to dig in. Now, if you're making these meatballs to freeze, then just skip the marinara step and just let your balls go all the way to 160, and that's when you know they're done. So you can just vac seal them up at that point, and you're good to go. So now the meatballs are done, there's only one thing left to do, and that's the taste test. So we're gonna get one of these guys out, get a bit of that buffalo mozzarella for some cheesy goodness. Just look at that. Little extra sauce here. And of course, a little bit of extra shaved Parmigiano Reggiano. They'll go in with our fork. Get a little sauce, get a little cheese. You gotta be kidding me. That is so good. The flavor from the combination of beef and pork, all the seasonings we added in here, the smoke flavor from the Bradley, really, really good. Really juicy, really tender. I'd really suggest you give this recipe a try. And it was super easy. It took us about 2 hours from start to finish, and it packs a ton of flavor. You wanna get a little meatball sub going, got some fresh bread, put a couple of these between there, load it up with sauce, more cheese, absolutely gonna knock your socks off. We're just gonna eat this straight up because we're going keto right now, but absolutely equally as delicious. So thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this one, smash that like button below. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.